A very good morning to you. I think I should still say Merry Christmas. We're still in that season. How are you doing? Welcome to Parenting Tuesday on Jam 316. My name is James Okumu. It is the last Tuesday of the year, and what a year it has been, especially when we look at things from a parenting perspective. I don't think there's a year we've been stretched as we have been in 2020 as parents, mostly because the whole year, basically the whole year from March, our children have been at home with us. And I think it's revealed some cracks where our parenting skills are concerned, where our family life is concerned. And you know, the best thing to do would be to look back and learn lessons from the things we have gone through this year and from the experiences we've had. And that's what we want to do today on this last show of the year on Parenting Tuesday. Looking back at the year, what are some of the things we experienced? What lessons can we learn from that? Some of those experiences that we've gone through, so that as we look forward to 2021, we can plan to become better parents. I've got two amazing guests that will be joining us via Zoom in the next short while. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, the last Tuesday into 2020. We're excited. God has brought us this far. And you know, every Tuesday we talk about parenting issues. So today we want to look back at the year because it's been a challenging year for us as parents. But before we do that, I want to remind you about Eden Tea, the finest garden tea. If you haven't tried it, try it. Eden Tea is reminding us that together we can flatten the COVID-19 curve. How do we do that? Washing our hands with soap and running water, ensuring we have our face masks on. Very important, especially during this festive season. People are moving around a bit, and also maintain interpersonal distance, avoid crowded places. It's for our own good. Eden Tea comes to you in a number of flavors: Eden Green Tea, Eden Purple Tea, Eden Lemon Tea, Eden Ginger Tea, and Eden Premium Tea. If you haven't tried it, try it. It's available at leading outlets, very affordable, my friend. If you have Eden Tea, you will not go back. So this morning, I'm joined by two amazing guests. I have a parenting coach, Dr. Stanley Mukolwe. Dr. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Pastor Fred.
I think I should tell you Merry Christmas.
Thank you. It's 4 days after.
Yes.
We're still in the mood.
We are still in the season and still in the mood. Also joining our psychologist, Grace Karaoke. Grace, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Pastor, and I'm glad to be here. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Glad that you could join us one more time before we finish 2020. So let's jump into this conversation. I think 2020 has been very challenging for us as parents, and I think the first issue was the whole issue of being at home with our children. Once there was the pandemic hit the country, schools were closed, children came back home. Some of us parents had to work from home. How do you think parents generally managed that whole issue of being at home with their children? Dr.
Well,
yes.
I think some parents really struggled.
Mm-hmm.
They really struggled. Some of them did, and some did extremely well. From the parents I interact with, those who had been accustomed to homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
did very well. But for the others, the concept of being at home and working was a totally new concept.
Yes.
So children expected the parents to spend time with them,
Mm-hmm.
and yet parents were busy working. So that was a very new concept.
Yes.
Sometimes parents would view children as being in the way.
Yes.
Because they'd want attention, especially on Zoom calls. You're in the middle of a Zoom call and a child runs in front of you,
Yes.
wanting a hug. Fortunately, many of the people in the conferences understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some parents really struggled
Mm.
because the pressure of work never eased. Some of them who are connecting with people overseas, there were odd working hours because of the time differences.
Yes.
Some of them had to release their house helps because of the COVID situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's an increase in housework in the home.
Yeah.
So you have children to be taught because they are homeschooling,
Mm-hmm.
parents who must work, no house help, late working hours. The boundaries for working were no longer being respected, the hours.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on families.
Okay. I'm wondering, Grace, did this also reveal cracks in the way we have built relationships with our children? Because some of us were looking for opportunities to send them somewhere.
Yes, indeed. Because what we saw happening, and I am a young mother myself. My children are young. And so what Dr. Mkwele is talking about, I have experienced myself, because my two children, suddenly they were at home, and I was not prepared for what I had to deal with.
Yeah.
And so what has happened is that many of us were caught in a crisis of relational interactions.
Yeah.
Because right now, I am not used to being in the house with the children the whole time. I'm not used to being in the house with my husband the whole time. And so even there were the fights about roles and responsibilities, the division of labor within the house.
Yes.
And like Daktari has said, we let go of our house helps, so our house helps had left and the close down happened. And so now I am working, I'm doing the house chores, I'm taking care of the kids, and I am now mad at my husband because I think he's not pulling up his part of the roles.
Yeah.
And so there was quite an unprecedented crisis that we had never experienced before. And many of us really struggled in the beginning, but eventually we found a way to create a new normal for ourselves. And there are many who have learned new lessons, but there are many who are still struggling to this day.
Yes. You know, somebody was saying that it's almost like God had hit the reset button, because ideally, back in the day, it is the parents who was teaching their children. You know, I mean, this culture and education, for that matter, was handed down, you know, word of mouth, and the parents' responsibility was really hands-on where the children are concerned. And we went back there. I'm just wondering, what can we learn from this experience to be able to build better relationships, especially with our children? Because some of us didn't know what to discuss with them. Some of us gave them gadgets and they got lost in that world, and we thought they are busy, they are doing school, but they were doing other things. How do we build better relationships? Daktari?
You know, I think the crisis has shown to us that when the world collapses, people retreat back to the home.
Yes.
So we must fortify the home. We must raise it to the level of important, but also urgent. For many people, they had delegated the home to homekeepers, housekeepers.
Yes.
But we must realize that we can delegate tasks, but we cannot delegate relationships. And so I think parents need to go to school and learn how to parent. In my own field of parenting coach, I have coached, I have had sessions. I've had 5 times more parents come for help than I did before the pandemic.
Okay.
I've had classrooms full of parents from across the East African section. The boundaries opened up. And so the parents are realizing we need to be taught. And I would say parents need to invest in parenting. We don't know the obvious things we ought to do. And so invest in it, learn what to do, and work at it. But also, it revealed baggage within parents.
Okay.
Parents are getting angry, feeling irritated very easily.
Yes.
Some of it from their children, some of it from lost opportunities at work, some of it from... you know, when hope is deferred, the heart is broken.
Yes.
And so there's that challenge of what do we do? What we are hoping to get, we are not getting. So identifying our own personal challenges and dealing with them. Because parenting is not so much what you do, though that's important, but it's who you are with those children.
Yes.
Because they are learning even when you are not teaching.
Wow, that is so true. You know, I'm just thinking, Grace, there are those parents who lost their jobs in this season. And just like Daktari has said, the backlash was the people at home. How do we prevent such situations? Because now you're frustrated, you don't know how people are going to eat in this house anymore. Now watoto tu wako hapo wanarukaruka kwa sofa, happy go lucky, and you vent out your anger on them. How do we manage these emotions and become better parents?
Right, and I think the other thing that the pandemic has revealed to us is how how much of life skills that we lack, how much we have low level understanding of how to manage ourselves. As we have seen, statistics have shown us that child abuse and domestic abuse in general went up by 40%.
Yes.
All over the world. It's not just in Kenya. And so it actually revealed to us that that as individuals, we are not well schooled in what we call emotional intelligence and life skills. How to deal with anger, how to deal with frustration, how to build hope, and how to build resilience in times when we are caught in something that we do not have a way of dealing. And so there are those who shut down, there are those who escaped in other stuff, and there are those who just became very reactive and they were not able to manage. But then we also have those who are able to bounce back. They were hit. It's like I usually say, it's like when you watch the boxers, the people in the boxing ring. When you are hit, you bounce back. You know, you stagger, but then you come back and you continue in the fight. So we do have parents who are able to bounce back, marriages that were affected really severely, loss of income and all the other things that come with that, but they were able to bounce back with time because they had the skills on how to deal with a crisis. So there is a need for us, even as coaches, as therapists, and as others who mentor young couples and families, to be able to make this a priority, that we train ourselves on how to manage crisis situations. And I think this pandemic has thrown us into that space where God has given us the opportunity to grow as individuals. Dr. Mukolwe says about the number of parents who have sought his help. The number of couples who have come for help for marriage counseling for me has also gone up. Because again, people started living under the same roof, and I slapped her or she slapped me, and oh my goodness, what's going on? And so a lot of our people in Kenya have also realized that there is a need to reach out to someone professional to help us with the crisis.
Okay, Dr. Mukolwe, I think that's a good thing then. If we have more married couples seeking help to better their relationships, if we have more parents reaching out, then I think this whole thing is pushing us then in the right direction. If more people are seeking help, am I right to think that way?
I think you're right. The only problem is that when things go back to normal, whenever that might be, we might go back to our cocoons. But I have met parents who have realized that they didn't know their children. And whenever there was a crisis, even a small thing in the home, like the breaking of a glass, the parents were always on the fighting side. They were adversaries to their children, always combative in their relationships. And through some of the coaching, they are realizing being an adversary, a combative parent, is not helpful. Then there are those who are just rescuing their children from every crisis and not allowing them to grow. And parents are realizing being a rescuer parent is also not helpful. And we are teaching them to be allies with their children. Stand with your child, walk with them through the crisis, help them to learn lessons through it. Some parents I've met say when things go back to normal, they won't go back to normal. The parents have decided that they will continue to work from home, invest in their children, because they realized how far back their children were, having, in a sense, without intending to, abandoned them to the household. Now someone's thinking, I'm going to take over the running of my house. No matter what happened, I'm not going back to the office 9 hours a day.
You're in a moment of revelation, and I think that is good. Now, you are watching Parenting Tuesday. We are looking back at 2020 and some of the situations we found ourselves in as parents and some of the challenges we have experienced this year, and looking back, what lessons can we learn from those experiences? Remember, our SMS number is 20316. WhatsApp is 0786 316 316. Parenting Tuesday Tuesday, the last Tuesday of 2020. We're looking back at the year 2020 and some of the challenges we've experienced as parents because of the corona pandemic. What lessons can we pick from them so that we can become better parents in 2021? I have two amazing guests who are joining us via Zoom. Grace Kariuki, who is a psychologist and a parenting coach. Dr. Stanley Mukolo is also with us. Dr. Maybe I can push this one to you. One of the things that shocked many of us is that during this season we had a lot of teenage pregnancies. I mean, you would think the children are at home, wako kwa nyumba, wako safe, but we had an explosion in teenage pregnancies. I don't know what that means and what we can do. Does it mean that our homes are the dangerous places? Does it mean that as parents we need to be more we need to have more conversations with our children about their sexuality? What does that tell us?
Pastor, the pregnancy is an outcome of behavior. And there were probably as many teenagers, probably more, who were sexually active during that season than those who got pregnant. So when we focus on the pregnancy, we focus on a very small part of our problem. The problem we have is decayed moral standards in our country. We have a lack of parental supervision. There is a lack of structure in the home. There's a lack of proper education so that even when the children are not being supervised, they would know right from wrong. And I think that the ones you heard of being pregnant, that probably is a horrible thing, but you haven't heard about the number of abortions that took place. And so it's a crisis. It's a crisis. Maybe for every one who is pregnant, there may be 10 others who are sexually active, but who are not yet pregnant. So we need to go back and address the issue of innocence in the whole area of sexuality and give an education on sexuality given by parents, not delegated to outsiders. There can be professionals coming in, yes, but parents ought to be taught on what to do. It's an area we have shied away from, and unfortunately it's catching up with us. And the problems were there in the past, but now that there's a focus on the family and the pandemic, it's being highlighted. No one is telling us specifically how many teenage pregnancies were there during the school holidays of previous years. So it would be nice to compare those figures. We do have a crisis, and that should send us back on the drawing board. We can't control our children. They need to know right from wrong so that they become part of the solution. See, if you have a dog that bites people and you chain it, you'll control it for a season. But once it breaks the chain, it will still bite people.
Very true.
So we need to train that dog to not bite when it is loose. And so that whole moral teaching is lacking in our home, it's lacking in our schools, it's lacking within the society. Some schools are focusing on unsafe pregnancies, unsafe abortions, unprotected sex. And when you focus the attention to that area, it's the wrong focus. Because it's telling the people protected sex is okay, safe abortions are okay, and that is not true. That is not true. So the parent needs to take this bull by the horns and teach, first of all, learn for themselves on how to communicate this effectively, because many parents were never taught, and then teach it. We need to work in communities, because you might have one parent who is so shy about the topic they can't talk to their own children. But then you have, within a community of 5 or 8 parents, you have one who will speak very, very clearly. So we need to work in communities to educate ourselves. It's like going back to establish the African village, where values are passed on at community levels, but enforced at the family level.
I love that. I think that is very helpful. You know, one time I was having an interview with a lady on this whole issue of parenting, and she was saying exactly what you've said is what they have done. They have a community of women who grew up together. Now they're married, they have children, they've stayed together, and so they have sleepovers where one of the women speaks to all the young girls, and it's been working out for them. Grace, I want to take you back to this whole issue of education. because children were at home and it was a must for us parents to be involved in their education. We had to supervise them. I think if there's a year parents have really appreciated teachers, it is 2020. What lessons can we learn from that whole experience? Because some of us parents were really aloof. We had no idea what our children were doing when they were having their online classes.
Right.
For those who are having online classes, what can we learn from that? How can we make it better?
Right, and I think, like I said, I am a victim of all of that because I have young children,
Yeah.
and so I was caught unawares. I have absolutely no patience with teaching a child. I found
Grace? It's still not working.
I'm so sorry.
It is breaking up and breaking up and breaking up. Maybe, Dr. you can take that question on the whole issue of education. You know, what can we learn from it? Because we had to be hands-on, and many of us parents were not used to that. We had no idea where to begin and what to do.
Yes, I think what Grace was trying to say about she fell victim of this because
Yes.
she has a young family and she's struggling with how to be patient in doing all that she had to do.
Yeah.
I think the big difference between the past and today is that there was less pressure on parents, and the whole expectation from society to be working all the time away from home
Yes.
was not there as it is today. But you know, look at wildlife, and sometimes I have to go back to nature and see what's going on.
Yes.
When lions go hunting, lionesses go hunting, they leave one of the lionesses with all the cubs. And it's so you have maybe 5 lionesses that have gone hunting. Each one has 1 or 2 cubs, and they leave one behind to watch over the cubs and also to feed them. So they will actually suckle from the lioness.
Wow.
Now, they have learned how to go out and bring in bread and leave one of their own behind, because they know the hyenas will attack the young lions.
Yes.
Now, the one that stays behind is no less of a lioness. She has just chosen to stay behind by agreement and take care of all the little ones.
Very true.
So recreating that social structure where education in the home can be built and promoted without feeling the pressure that everybody must go out and earn a living from working outside the home. That pressure, we need to ease that pressure and let parents take charge of the education of their children.
Yes.
And again, I think that even though the pandemic will end, I don't think online learning will end.
Yeah.
And some parents may choose to remain with online learning even when they have the option of going back to school.
Very true. Very true. Grace, are you back? Is your audio better?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're still breaking.
Oh, well.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Keep
you
talking.
hear me? Oh, okay. I was saying that I agree with what Daktari has said about us intense.
Oh my goodness. It seems like we are breaking again. Let's take a break and try and sort that out, because I think we need to hear what Grace has to say. You are watching Parenting Tuesday and listening to Parenting Tuesday on both Family TV and Family Radio 316. This morning we are looking at some of the main challenges we've had as parents in 2020 because of the pandemic. Remember, once again, SMSs are coming in on 20316. WhatsApp is on 0786 316 316. It is Parenting Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the year. Looking back at 2020, what lessons can we learn? This morning we are hanging out with parenting coach Dr. Stanley Mukolu and psychologist Grace Kariuki in studio via Zoom, and we are just looking at the lessons. Dr. there's something you were saying earlier on about education and online education. You're not seeing it changing. Maybe we can go back to that. There's something else you wanted to say concerning that.
Yes, I was saying that right now I'm in Western Kenya to see my parents, and yet I'm on family media interviewing with Pastor James.
Yes.
See, in the past, I had to be in the studio. So seeing my parents and being in the studio were mutually exclusive.
Yes.
But right now, after my hour of interview, I can walk out and spend time with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in a very similar way, going to work and teaching our children have been mutually exclusive to this point.
Yes.
But COVID has taught us it doesn't have to be.
Mm.
I can be working from Zoom in my home, and during the break, I can spend time with my child.
Yeah.
And we need to devise ways of working and spending time with the children. The two things need not be mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have house help in the home and we are working from the home, the neglect and abuse that some families have experienced from house helps will be reduced when they know the parent is in the home.
Yes.
So we can actually come from a horrible place to a good place of saying, this will continue. I'll be involved in educating my children.
Mm-hmm.
I will want them to continue an online class, even though going to school is an option. So it can actually be worked out into a beautiful thing if you put some thought to it.
Wow. Grace, has that been your experience as well?
Yeah. Oh yes. In fact, as I'm listening to Daktari, and I'm thinking that we are almost going back to how things used to be.
Mm-hmm.
We had one breadwinner and one nurturing parent who stayed home with the children. And me personally have actually seen that it's a new opportunity that has been presented to us to be able to protect our children and to create better relationships with our children because there is a parent who is hands-on and present at home with the children. And I think this is an awesome opportunity for us to be able to reduce the amount of moral decay in our community.
Yeah.
But it's also going to help the parents to have more communication, because then the parent who has been home with the children has a report.
Yes.
They can be able to have better report about how the kids are doing and what are the concerns, because now one of the parents is actually interacting with the children on a daily basis, as opposed to us having to rely on either the children telling us what's going on or the house help or the school teachers calling us and saying your child has been behaving differently.
Yes.
So I think it's a great opportunity for us to rethink our parenting relationships and be able to allow ourselves to go outside of the norm and begin to think of what the value is of what the pandemic has introduced us to.
Okay. What about our the whole aspect of our children's emotional well-being? Because during this pandemic, I remember when this thing hit the country and we could not go to work, the children could not go to school, many of us would camp around our screens to hear the update of the day. This many people have been infected. This many people have died. This many people have been infected. I'm just wondering, did we handle our children's emotional well-being well in this season, and what can we learn from the experiences we've gone through?
Right. I think one of the things that came out very clearly is that us parents were forced to experience our children's emotions.
Okay.
So we were forced to have to look at them, because you are with them a lot and they are asking you questions.
Yes.
My son asked me, Mom, we've been praying for Corona to go away. How come God is not answering that prayer?
Wow.
So that is a teachable moment that I wouldn't have had if we were not in the same space like that. And so we had to have an opportunity to explain to the child, but not just to explain, but to allow your child to talk to you. How are you feeling about COVID?
Yes.
And then you hear the fears. And I think a lot of us parents were taken by surprise because we had to deal with our kids' emotions. And we haven't had to do that because the teachers deal with those. But now we are at home. We are the ones they come and say, my brother has hit me or whatever it is. And I have had couples who have had fights about the fact that when they are at home like that and the kids are fighting,
Yes.
how the mother deals with the kids fight and how the father deals with the kids fight,
Yes.
very different. And they start fighting because the mother says, oh no, we can't let them fight. Dad says, no, we have to let them fight it out. They need to learn how to protect themselves and to create their own boundaries. So right there, you realize that now me as a family therapist, I'm thinking, what are the subconscious triggers that have just happened?
Yeah.
So that is when you see now things that we experienced as children are being triggered by spending too much time with each other. And we are sensitized to the fact that even as parents, we have what we call unfinished business with our own childhoods.
Yeah.
And so you will hear a couple saying, as we were beaten up, but we turned out okay.
Yes.
You know? And so we try to justify.
Yes.
I will say this, Pastor. I will say this. We try to justify our laziness with, as we were beaten and we turned out okay.
Yeah.
Instead of us learning and being sensitive to the fact that we are living in a different era, and our children are experiencing life differently.
Very
because me and my husband are not our parents.
Yes.
We are parents ourselves, and our children are experiencing us, not our parents. You see, so there has been an opportunity for a lot of us as families to really evaluate what is valuable in life.
Well, very true. I think, Dr. that brings in the whole aspect of discipline. You know, because we were so confined in our homes, friction is inevitable, and we have not really, as parents, figured out the whole issue of discipline. Some of us let a lot of things fly by. Some of us are too harsh. I don't know what you can say in relation to discipline.
I think that when the word discipline is mentioned, a lot of emotions are generated. It's a very emotive subject. And many people relate to how they were disciplined, and in many cases, how they were abused. And because the memory is painful, some of them have decided, I will love my children, I will not discipline. Now, that's a problem. Because right there, they equate discipline with not loving.
Very true.
And yet that is not true.
Yeah.
You see, I'm a parenting coach, and I refer quite a bit to the Bible. The Lord disciplines those he loves.
Yeah.
The word love and discipline go together. When you don't discipline a child, the Lord says you are like illegitimate children. So the question of discipline is not an issue. The question is, how do you do it in a loving way? Many of people of our age, or Grace's age, she's much younger than me, were beaten up by their parents out of anger.
Yeah.
Today, any form of corporal punishment is considered to be violence. Well, we need to draw the line. Not every form of corporal punishment is violence.
Yes.
But you see, that line has not been drawn, but it's been equated to violence. Why? To protect the child from their own abusive parents.
Yeah.
So it's a sad day when a third party has to protect a child from abuse by who is supposed to be a loving parent. And just knives are used to murder people. Scalpel blades are used by doctors to operate people.
Yes.
The issue is not to burn sharp instruments. The issue is to teach people how to use them to correct and not to injure.
Wow.
And of course, it's a very emotive debate.
Yes.
But we go back. Every house has a, but you don't have murder in every house.
Yeah.
And yet knives are used for murder.
Yeah.
And so we need to come back to the place of not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Discipline. When you think about discipline in a broader sense, see, Kenya is known for its Olympic prowess, the athletic prowess. Now, and nobody wins any is not disciplined. And so discipline going beyond the use of the cane, going beyond the naughty corner.
Yeah.
The person who's not disciplined will not make it through life. And so the big issue is to teach parents how to do it without anger, how to use it to train a child for future success and not just as a punishment. Parents, when I teach on that, I take 4 lessons to teach it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Before we run out of time, we need to talk about social media, because social media has also become another monster that we've had to deal with in this pandemic season. There was the other day news about this children that were found in this house. They were having a party. It was almost like a sex orgy. Some of them were just drunk, drugs everywhere. And they said they got the invitation to the party through social media. You know, social media is a very tricky thing, because for us parents, we never grew up with it. But our children are growing up with it. And some of us parents have no idea what social media is all about. We are not there. We don't bother to be there. But now our children live there. Now they are doing online classes. You think they're in class, and they're doing other things. What lessons can we learn from them? What do we need to do as parents? Because social media is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Grace.
Yeah, let me say something here. I think we again go back to thinking about our parenting and asking how intentional are you as a parent?
Okay.
And to be intentional about something, you've got to interact with it. You've got to know it. You've got to do some research on how it's working, what are the benefits, what are the pitfalls. And I think a lot of us parents, we just want to bury our head in the sand. And until there is a crisis, that's when we rise up and we do whatever we want to do. Now, when we talk about our role as parents, I usually say one of our roles as parents is to protect our children, not to make them happy. We were not called to have children and make them happy. We were called to have children and raise them in the grace and in the fear of our Lord Jesus Christ. That's what we are told. But a lot of us are like Daktari said, we were raised, we were beaten up, or we were abused, or whatever we experienced as children, and we are trying to protect our children from that same thing by not disciplining. And discipline here for me means discipling, mentoring, training, and also...
Grace, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Let's go to Daktari. Let's hear what Daktari has to say about social media. Maybe your connection will get better as we hear from Daktari. Daktari.
I think that part of what Grace is trying to say is that we are mandated by God to watch out for the welfare of our children. Now, if you think back in the olden days, Pastor James, during the Christmas holidays, there used to be dances all over the place.
Oh, yes.
You know, the carnival dance.
Yes.
You know, every Friday. So a sense in which social gatherings have always been there. And what's now happened is that they have been brought home onto devices. So the fact that there are social gatherings, that hasn't changed. What has changed is that now everybody knows where the gathering is taking place, and they know it instantly. Now, parents need to educate their children on the uses and dangers of social media. Not just social media, but of electronic devices to begin with. Because it's not just the social media that's the issue. When people are going onto pornographic sites, that's really not necessarily part of social media. But you see, a child is on online school, and then when the parent is there with them, everything's okay. And the parent goes away for about 20 minutes. And when they come back, you know, they're getting a phone call from school. We lost so-and-so. They're having a bad connection. But they're not. They just moved from the school connection onto a porn site. And whenever the parent is there, the connection is good. Whenever the parent is not there, the connection is bad. But the child is faking it. They're just moving into something else. So we need to take them responsibility with media, responsibility with electronics. And that begins at a very early age. What has been labeled adult content really, in my opinion, is not fit for anyone. Pornography is called, that's adult content.
Yeah.
And normal adults should not be watching pornography.
Yeah.
So we need to teach our children how the world has classified some things.
Yes.
As not, that's not the right way to look at them. And we ought to make changes
Yes.
to be able to have them look at things in a more proper way.
Wow. Wow, Grace, your camera is off.
And she has a lot of background noise.
Yes, tuko karibu kukunywa chai.
I am so sorry.
It's okay, Grace. It's okay. We are learning together. We are learning together how to use this technology. As long as the message is getting across, I think we are good. I'm almost out of time. Maybe both of you can answer this one question as we finish. How can we be more intentional as parents in 2021? Because there are lots of lessons we can look back at 2020 and learn. How do we become better in 2021?
Invest in parenting, I would say that.
Uh-huh.
By investing in it, I mean buy books, attend lessons, form social groups
Yes.
of parents whose children are about the same age, so that you learn together, because your kids are going through the same things.
Yes.
So learn together. And here's something else. One of the biggest negative influence on children, especially teenagers, is their peer. And parents need to learn to not just engage with their child and criticize the peer, but to create the environment within the home where the peer is welcome.
Yes.
So that the parent is reaching out to their child and their social network. That way, we get a chance to influence our children and their peers and end up creating a situation where we have peers without pressure.
Very true. Very true.
So go back to school, learn, and be involved with your children along with their peers. Would be my parting shot on that.
Wow.
Right.
Grace, try and say something
Right.
as we finish. Your camera is off, Grace.
All right, and I don't know Yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think we can end it there, since my camera is playing tricks on me. But I do like the.
Yes.
I like the idea Daktari has shared about create community groups where we learn together and we share ideas, and also we form the village that our children are being raised by.
Very true.
And also I love what he said about, instead of criticizing their peers, get to be friends with them, so that you can influence the peers, so that your children don't have to, that they are always fighting with you. By the way, I teach that to couples, where I tell them, instead of fighting about your husband's football friends, get to know them and be friends with their wives and all that. Yeah. Sorry, my camera has gone off.
Yes, your camera has gone off. So say that again. What do you teach couples?
No, let us start from
I teach. I usually teach couples on instead of creating this friction around that friends that you don't like, that you think influences your spouse in a negative way, get to know them and get to know why your spouse is so attracted to them that they are not willing to give them up for your sake.
Wow.
So or for the sake of the relationship. So use influence rather than demands.
Okay. Grace Kariuki, Stanley Mukolwe, asanteni sana. Thank you for finding the time to talk to us. I pray that we'll be more intentional. We will invest in our parenting skills, and we will learn the lessons that we've learned this year and make use of that next year. Asanteni sana. That's all the time we have for Parenting Tuesday today. I pray that in the midst of the challenges we've faced, that you have learned a thing or two.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.